there lived a couple named Emily and David. Their love story began like a fairy tale. They met in college, fell deeply in love, and vowed to stand by each other through thick and thin. Emily was a gentle soul, her kindness radiating from her like warmth from the sun. She had a smile that could light up the darkest of rooms and a heart overflowing with compassion. David, on the other hand, was charming and charismatic, with a quick wit and a sharp mind. At first glance, they seemed like the perfect match. But as time passed, cracks began to appear in their relationship. David, burdened by the pressures of his job and his own insecurities, started to change. He became short-tempered and controlling, his words laced with venom that cut Emily to the core. At first, Emily brushed off David's behavior, chalking it up to stress or a bad day at work. But as his actions escalated, she found herself walking on eggshells around him, afraid to set him off. He would belittle her in front of friends and family, criticize her every move, and isolate her from the people who loved her. Despite the pain and humiliation, Emily remained steadfast in her love for David. She believed that beneath his harsh exterior lay the man she had fallen in love with, and she clung to the hope that he would change. But change never came. Instead, David's treatment of Emily grew worse with each passing day. He would berate her for the smallest of things, blaming her for his own shortcomings and failures. And yet, despite it all, Emily stayed, convinced that she could somehow fix what was broken. It wasn't until one fateful night, when David's anger turned physical, that Emily finally realized the extent of the danger she was in. With bruises marring her skin and fear gripping her heart, she knew she could no longer stay silent. Summoning every ounce of courage she had left, Emily made the difficult decision to leave David and seek refuge with friends who had long been worried about her well-being. It wasn't easy, and the road to healing was long and arduous, but with the support of loved ones and the strength within herself, Emily began to rebuild her life. As for David, his actions eventually caught up with him. Left to confront his own demons without Emily by his side, he was forced to reckon with the harm he had caused and the person he had become. It was a journey fraught with pain and regret, but in the end, it was a journey that led him to seek help and confront his issues head-on. Emily's decision to leave David wasn't made lightly. It was the culmination of years of silent suffering, of enduring pain behind closed doors, and of hoping against hope that things would get better. But that night, as she nursed her bruises and wiped away tears of shame, she knew she couldn't continue living like this. With trembling hands and a heavy heart, Emily packed a small bag with the essentials and slipped out of their apartment while David slept. She didn't leave a note, there were no words left to say. As Emily walked away from the life she had known for so long, a mix of emotions swirled within her, fear, sadness, relief, and a glimmer of hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she couldn't stay trapped in a cycle of abuse any longer. The days that followed were a blur of uncertainty and upheaval. Emily sought refuge with friends who welcomed her with open arms, offering a safe haven from the storm that had ravaged her life. They listened as she poured out her heart, offering words of comfort and encouragement, and helping her navigate the daunting road ahead. With their support, Emily took the first steps toward reclaiming her independence. She found a job, a small studio apartment of her own, and began to rebuild the shattered pieces of her life. It wasn't easy, there were moments when doubt crept in, when she questioned her decision to leave, but with each passing day, she grew stronger. Meanwhile, David was left to face the consequences of his actions. With Emily gone, he found himself adrift, lost in a sea of regrets and remorse. The realization of what he had done hit him like a ton of bricks, and he was forced to confront the ugly truth about himself that he had long tried to ignore. Seeking solace in solitude, David retreated into himself, grappling with the demons that haunted his past and the pain he had inflicted on the woman he loved. It was a journey of self-discovery fraught with pitfalls and setbacks, but with each step forward, he began to unravel the layers of toxicity that had consumed him. Through therapy and self-reflection, David confronted the root causes of his behavior, his childhood traumas, his insecurities, and his deep-seated fear of inadequacy. It was a painful process, dredging up memories he had long buried, but it was necessary for him to heal and move forward. As time passed, David started to make amends for the harm he had caused. He reached out to Emily, not with empty apologies or excuses, but with a genuine desire to make things right. He attended anger management classes, joined support groups for abusers, and volunteered at a local shelter for victims of domestic violence, determined to break the cycle of abuse once and for all. Emily's initial response to David's attempts at reconciliation was guarded. She had been hurt too deeply to simply forgive and forget, but as she witnessed the sincerity of his efforts and the progress he was making, she began to soften. Their reunion was tentative at first, marked by awkward conversations and lingering mistrust, but as they navigated the rocky terrain of forgiveness together, they discovered a newfound sense of understanding and empathy for one another. They didn't pick up where they had left off. Instead, they embarked on a journey of rebuilding their relationship from the ground up, one brick at a time. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks and struggles along the way, moments of doubt and fear that threatened to tear them apart once more. But with each obstacle they faced, they emerged stronger and more resilient, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. As Emily and David continued their journey of reconciliation, they faced challenges that tested the very foundations of their newfound relationship. The scars of the past ran deep, leaving both of them vulnerable to moments of doubt and insecurity. But with each obstacle they overcame, their bond grew stronger, their love more resilient. One of the biggest hurdles they faced was rebuilding trust. For Emily, it was learning to trust that David had truly changed, that the man standing before her now was not the same person who had once inflicted so much pain. And for David, it was earning back Emily's trust, proving through his actions, not just his words, that he was committed to being the partner she deserved. It was a slow and painstaking process, marked by moments of progress and setbacks. There were times when Emily's old wounds would resurface, triggered by a word or a gesture that echoed the past, sending her spiraling into a whirlwind of fear and uncertainty. And there were times when David's efforts to atone for his past mistakes fell short, leaving him frustrated and discouraged. But through it all, they refused to give up on each other. They talked openly and honestly about their fears and insecurities, laying bare their hearts in a way they never had before. As they worked through their issues together, Emily and David discovered a newfound intimacy that went beyond the physical. They learned to truly see each other, not just as romantic partners, but as flawed and imperfect human beings striving to be better versions of themselves. And in that vulnerability, they found a strength they never knew they possessed. But rebuilding trust wasn't the only challenge they faced. They also had to confront the lingering effects of the abuse that had once dominated their relationship. For Emily, it meant coming to terms with the trauma she had endured, learning to forgive herself for staying as long as she did, and finding the courage to embrace her own worth and value. With the help of therapy and support groups, Emily embarked on a journey of healing that allowed her to confront the demons of her past and reclaim her sense of self-worth. He immersed himself in his therapy, delving deep into the darkest corners of his psyche, determined to unearth the root causes of his abusive behavior and eradicate them once and for all. It was a painful process, dredging up memories he had long buried and facing the ugly truth about himself. But with each breakthrough, David felt a weight lifted off his shoulders, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, he could be worthy of redemption. As Emily and David continued their individual journeys of healing, they also embarked on a journey of healing together. They attended couples therapy, where they learned new ways of communicating and resolving conflicts, and they participated in workshops and retreats designed to strengthen their bond and deepen their connection. Through it all, they never lost sight of the love that had brought them together in the first place. It was a love that had weathered storms and survived trials, a love that had been tested and tempered by fire. And as they stood on the precipice of a new chapter in their lives, Emily and David knew that their love was stronger than ever before. As they looked toward the future, they knew that there would be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome. But they also knew that as long as they faced them together, hand in hand, they could conquer anything that came their way. And so, hand in hand, they stepped into the unknown, ready to embrace whatever the future held for them. For Emily and David, the road ahead would be fraught with twists and turns, highs and lows. But through it all, they would navigate the journey together, their love guiding them every step of the way.